Well, hello Internet, and welcome to my object-oriented design tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create a UML design from scratch and begin this whole entire presentation. Now, UML is going to be used to design software blueprints, and if you haven't watched my UML tutorial, you might want to take a look at it, and there's a link above. Design patterns, on the other hand, are used to reuse the expertise of others to design software that is optimized and understandable. While knowing UML and design patterns is nice, being able to use them to create an excellent object-oriented design is the goal of this tutorial. And the critical goal in object-oriented design is to assign the right capabilities to the right objects. And in this tutorial, as well as the second part that's going to follow here, I'm going to go through both the analysis and design stage. Now, the analysis stage is going to focus on creating a requirements list and other things like that you're going to see in this part of the tutorial, while the design phase is going to focus on designing objects and figuring out how they will work together. So after this part of the tutorial and the next part, I'm going to take you from a simple idea the whole way through the UML design process to the final working code. So let's get into it because there's a lot to do. Okay, here I am in a basic text editor, and I'm just going to call this coin flip for now. And if you can't see this, view it full screen. But either way, I'm going to start off right here, and the whole entire program we're going to be creating here sounds really simple, but believe me, this is the way to learn this process. You want to keep it as simple as possible because things can get crazy real fast. Now, in this use case, rather than draw up everything, I like to, most of the time, just type everything out. So basically, we're going to have two players and a player at random, and I'm doing this all out of my head, so if I slip up here or there, please forgive me. So we're going to have two players, and one of the players is going to be chosen at random to offer predictions on what the coin's going to be. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to type all of this out. Okay, so we got that. The other player, and this is all the stuff that our program's going to have to do for us, gets the other option. So if one goes and decides heads, the other one automatically needs to get tails. And then the coin is going to be flipped. Pretty simple. And then the correct guess wins. And we're going to have to put that information out on the screen. So that's going to be handled in the use case description. Then we're going to go through and figure out a couple other things. And I covered this in my use case tutorial, but I'm putting everything together here. So my trigger is going to be a player at random offers a prediction of a coin flip. So that's going to be the trigger that's going to set everything off. Then my actors, all the people involved, well, there's going to be a player who makes the first prediction. Another actor is going to be a player that gets the other option. There's going to be a coin involved, so it's going to pertain, it's going to be an actor. And then I'm going to actually have coin game be outside of everything else and consider it an actor as well. Alright, so now I know all the different parts are going to be at play here, so now I need to look at some preconditions. Two players are available. So that's something that we definitely need to be able to have available for us to be able to have this thing go. And a coin, or a fictional coin anyway, is going to be available. Can't think of any other preconditions. And this is just the whole idea here. Just get everything out on the screen. And the goal is going to be one player wins and the other loses. So that's our goal, and we're also going to print that out to screen. Now, not available, failed conclusion. You know, what we're going to do if our system fails, we're just going to guess that everything is going to work out because this is going to be pretty simple. And any extensions or alternatives I'm going to leave for a later tutorial. So there we are. Those are the two things that we're not going to be doing here that are normally in use case diagrams. And then we're going to get into our steps of execution. This is probably the most important part. So what's going to happen? A player at random is picked to predict the coin flip. So this is all the stuff we're going to have to program. And then the player picked offers a prediction of the coin flip, and we're just going to go step by step through what we think is going to happen. Well, I think that's done, so we're going to say the other player gets the other coin flip option. So like I said before, if one chooses heads, the other one by default is going to get tails. Makes sense. I don't think anything else needs to be going on here, so I'm going to look at my actors here. This is what I'm basically doing here. It's thinking about my actors. So there's going to be two players, a coin, and a coin game. And I'm basically defining here in the steps of execution, what they need to do. So the coin is going to be flipped and the result is provided, and then a winner and loser is picked and displayed on the screen. And is there anything else I'm going to do? How about we offer them to try again? And I can't think of anything else. Remember, it sounds simple, but there's a lot of things going on here. So now, based off of getting this together, I'm going to also create an object model, and it's going to document the main objects in the system and the main fields they're going to have, and then on top of that, how those different objects are going to relate to each other. And I'm also going to make a class diagram and a sequence diagram. So let's go and start doing that. Okay, so here are our main parts that I'm going to try to document out here, right there. So there's my steps of execution. So the next thing I like to do is create what is called an object model. I'm going to shrink this down so I can actually create the whole thing here on our screen. And I'm also going to get these couple pieces. I have everything that's available here on this screen you're going to be able to see after I'm done with it. And there will be a link underneath of the video so you can play around with this stuff just like I am. Okay, so the object model. Well, I'm looking over here and I remember my actors. So I have 2 players involved. So I'm just going to come over here, click on that, and then I'm going to go player. So that's going to be an object. And before I do anything else, let's just go and figure out what all our players are going to be and all of our actors are going to be. I'm also going to need a coin. Come over here and create a coin. And then the final thing I'm going to use is a coin game, which everything's going to be inside of that. So now I need to think about, okay, well, what fields am I going to use? Actually, let's think about this a different way. Let's connect all these guys and figure out exactly how they're going to work together. Connect their lines up. Okay, so everything's going to be connected. And then over here, I'm going to put in exactly what actions are going to take place. Give myself a little bit of room. Move this guy over there. So what actions are going to take place between the coin and the player? Well, there's going to be a coin flip. So I'm just going to work this all out. And how many players do I need? Well, I'm going to need 2 players. So I'm going to put that in there. And how many coins do I need? I only need 1. So there you go. So that's going to figure out exactly or show how many these guys relate and how they relate and all that other stuff. Actually, the coin is also going to relate to my coin game, which is also going to be important. And how is the player and the coin game going to work together? And I'm using a program called Umlet, if you're wondering where all this stuff's coming from. Okay, so in the coin game, there's going to be 2 players involved, and also there's only going to ever be 1 coin game itself. So I'm just going to call that 1. And how are the players in the coin game going to interact? Well, the coin game itself is going to contain the players, because that makes sense. The coin game is going to have a coin in it as well as 2 players. So let's just grab this guy here and let's just make this real simple. I'm just going to say includes. So there we are. Now I know how these guys are going to interact, and we're just moving along here. Includes also probably makes sense down here with this guy. And how many coins am I going to have and how many coin games? Well, I'm going to have 1 coin game, and coins, I'm still going to have 1 of those. So I know that. So I know how many different types of these objects I need to instantiate. So I'm going to have 2 player objects, and I'm going to have 1 coin game. And that is going to really tell me a lot. Sounds like it doesn't tell me much, but it will. So what type of things are my players going to have? Well, I'm going to give them a name just to separate them apart from each other so they're a little bit easier to understand or tell what's going on. And then coin option is also, so it's going to be either heads or tails. Each player is going to have either heads or tails as an option. And the coin game itself, now the coin game itself is going to have players. And I think I'm going to store those as an array, and these are the sort of things you have to think about. And then I'm going to also have the coin itself. So the coin game is going to have 2 players, and it's going to have the coin. And my coin, what field's it going to have? It's basically going to have coin option. That's it. Heads or tails. And that's it. So that's how to create an object model. So there's a use case model, and here's an object model. Now based off of that, I'm going to create a sequence diagram. And here is my sequence diagram. This is going to be a little bit more complicated, of course. And I'm still going to be using all this stuff over here. So now I need to think about, okay, well, what pieces am I going to need? Well, remember over here I said offer to try again. Well, one of the things, or one of the ways I can do that is by using an option inside of this. So that's going to be an option. And then on top of that, let's say that the condition for that is going to be flip again. Just keep it simple. I want to think about what variable names make sense overall here, but at the same time I just want to get moving and get some stuff accomplished. Okay, so everything's going to basically be wrapped up inside of this option, and I'm probably going to have all this take place inside of the main program itself. Just thinking out loud. Alright, so the next thing that kind of makes sense is to get all of my actors involved, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to grab these. Okay, so I have a player, a coin, actually 2 players, a coin, and a coin game. So I'm just going to grab these guys here, these classes, and let's get in here and start putting them in the right place. So paste those in there, move this around. So now that I got that all set up, let's just grab one of these classes here, and this guy is just going to be called coin game. So there's coin game, and the next thing I'm going to need is a player. So in this situation, I know that it's going to have a name, so I'm just going to call it player 1 and say it is of the class player. So there we go, I got that, and get rid of this altogether, don't need it. What else do we need? Well, we're going to have a player 2, and it's also going to be of class player. And then what else do I need? A coin. Take that guy over here, and I'm just going to say the coin, and it's going to be of the object type coin. So pretty simple. And then what do we need to do? Well, I'm going to need these guys here, connect everything, start drawing those in. And basically I'm going to take these steps over here and convert them into a sequence diagram. And it sounds like a lot of work, but believe me, in the end it will end up saving you an immense amount of work because you're going to have everything all worked out. So there's that guy, and each one of these is going to need a little thing hanging down here, a lifeline. And this for now I'm just going to leave down here. So what's going to happen? Well, player 1 or one of the players is going to be picked at random to decide on what the coin flip will be. How do we do that in a sequence diagram? Well, we're going to use Alt in that situation. So I'm just going to copy this guy, drop it in there. So there that is. And then whenever you use Alt, you're basically going to have 2 possibilities, or at least 2 possibilities in this situation. So I'm going to say if random player is equal to player 1, well, in that situation, I'm going to perform certain actions, and the action's basically going to be that player 1's going to have to like do stuff for me. So there's that. I don't really like the way this is all laying out here, so I'm going to move them over a little bit. Okay, so in that situation, then I'm going to have to run certain different types of methods. So I'm going to have to grab this guy over here and this guy right here, copy, and continue drawing this out. Let's just spread this out. I know exactly what's going to happen here. I'm basically going to lay out what is going to occur in our sequence diagram in the for instance in which player 1 is chosen to be the guy who gets to make the first decision in regards to the coin flip. And I'm also going to grab this, throw that over there. So you have to think about this, give it a good name that makes sense. I'm basically going to say that I want this to be called get rand coin option. That's coin game is going to ask for that. And the attribute, there aren't going to be any attributes in this situation. And then the return value is going to be a string. So that is basically what we're going to do. We want to find out heads or tails, what is your option? So that's what's going on there. So I'm going to have these line up, and then there's going to be a response. And that response, I'm just going to copy this, drag it down, is going to be called player's pick. So there we are. So that's what's going to happen in the for instance in which player 1 gets to decide on the coin flip. Well, it's going to happen to player 2 because player 2 is still over here, you know, hoping to do something someday. Well, player 2 is also going to have some things go on with it. And what player 2 is going to do, we're going to actually set the coin value for it because it doesn't have a choice. So if player 1 chooses heads, well, player 2 by default is just going to get tails. So we're going to have to figure out how we want to do that. Let's grab this here. So this guy's going to send it a message as well. And this guy's basically going to say, hey, we know what your coin value is going to be. You don't have the option to set it yourself. So we're going to call this instead set coin option. And we're going to pass it a string, and then it's not going to return anything. So there we are. So that's going to happen in the situation in which player 1 gets to choose. Player 2 is going to get whatever the default is. I know this is kind of crazy. I doubt anyone's ever done a video tutorial like this before. So now we need to divide this up into our alternative in which player 2 is going to get the option. It's actually going to be pretty simple. Basically, it's going to be the absolute opposite. So you can come down here. Player 2 is going to get to choose. and I'm not going to draw the lifelines in here just to keep this a little bit more simple. And this is going to be exactly the same, and then the response is going to be exactly the same. We're going to send back whatever the pick is. And that's going to also have to be built in logic-wise. And then this also needs to be changed to alt for alternative. And this guy actually needs to be copied as well. And in this situation, it's going to be, well, what are we going to do if the random guy chosen was player 2 instead of player 1? And then basically we're going to do exactly the same thing again for layer 1. We're going to set its value. So let's just copy this, copy, paste, and we're not going to have it do anything either. So there we are. So we figured out the logic behind exactly what we're going to do based off of which player is chosen to be the first one in line in regards to what happens whenever, what coin's flipped. All right, so now what do we do? Well, we've done absolutely nothing with coin yet. So let's get coin. Coin needs to be flipped. You don't remember. Say player is offered a prediction of the coin flip. The other player gets the other coin flip option. The coin is flipped and the result is provided. So we need the coin to be flipped. So let's do that. And for now, I'm going to say the coin game is going to create the coin, but we don't know that that's necessarily going to be true. But for now, it makes as much sense as anything. We need a coin and it must be flipped. So do that. And whenever you're going to create a new object, you just send create as a message in a sequence diagram. And there it is. So coin is going to be created. That's what this guy over here is. And then we have to decide exactly what's going to happen. This guy actually goes up here because that's the end of alternative. And let's connect these guys. Okay, so what are we going to do now that our coin has been created? And we're going to send it another message. Our coin game is going to send another message, that is. And that is to fire another method up. So what are we going to call this method? I'm going to call it get coin option. And it's going to return a string, which is going to be either heads or tails. So there we are. Got that. And then from that, it's going to return whatever the winning flip was as a string. So I'm going to call this winning flip, and there we go. So then what do we do? Okay, so we know the player 1 and we know player 2's values, and we also know what the coin flip was. Well, the next thing that we're going to need to do is decide who won. So we're going to do that. Bring this guy down here, and we're going to check if player 1 won or whether player 2 won. And let's do the same thing here for player 2. Drag that guy up there just so it's a little bit easier. I'm moving a little bit fast, so I'm leaving a little bit of stuff out. Okay, so now that we got that all set, we need to ask player 1 and player 2 if they won. So that means we're going to call another method here. And what am I going to call it? Well, I'm going to call it did player win, and I'm going to pass the winning flip to it, and then the return's actually going to be a void. So I don't need to have anything on that. I'm just going to cut it off altogether. And how do I want to respond in regards? I'm just going to actually output to screen whether player 1 or player 2. This is just me guessing. Again, like I said, I'm doing this out of my head. So I'm just going to have the players individually say, yeah, I won or yeah, I lost. I'm not going to do anything other than that. So get this. And then we're going to have to find out if player 2 won. And how are we going to do that? In exactly the same way. At least that's how I decided to do it. I think that makes sense. And it's just going to have a canned return here. And there we are. And I think that's it. Let's open this guy up again. Okay, so we can go through this real quickly. We could say, okay, well, what do we need to do with our sequence diagram? And did we achieve it? A player at random is going to be picked to predict the coin flip. Okay, flip again. This part up here with the option is actually going to be based off of step 6. So we're going to get that out of the way right away because we have to go through the whole entire process. And we have to say a player at random is going to be picked to decide on whether heads or tails and which player gets to choose first. And that is going to be handled by alt. And then the player picked offers a prediction. And this player here won. It was picked and its prediction is players picked. So, okay, that works. The other player gets the other coin flip option. Okay, set coin flip option. So it's going to get the other. So that means it doesn't have a choice, but we still want it to have a choice. So we're going to send player's pick in this string right here over to player 2 and say, hey, player 1 in this situation chose heads, you get tails. You don't have an option. Otherwise, this is player 2 getting the option to pick and returning its pick and then sending that alternative pick over to this guy. And then then what do we need to do? Okay, the other player gets that. A coin is going to be flipped. Well, before a coin is flipped, it needs to be created, and that's exactly what's going on right here with this guy. Coin is created. Then what happens? Coin is flipped, and the result is provided. So get coin option is going to come over to coin and say, hey, what did you get? And it's going to say, well, I got this winning flip. I chose heads, for example, and it's going to pass that back. Coin is flipped, and result is provided. And then a winner and loser is picked from that. And did player win is the method. It's going to call player one, and winning flip is going to be either heads or tails, whatever shot back here. We're going to pass that over to this. And this guy should actually be set up like this. Technically, it should be set up as void in this situation, because remember I said I just want the players themselves to say, yeah, I won, yeah, I lost. And other than that, in this situation, I'm asking player two. So that's it. So the only thing left to do now that I got all my logic worked out, is to create a class diagram. And this is easy now. And here are going to be my class diagrams. I got those all set up here. So what am I going to need? Well, of course, I'm going to need to have player is going to be one of my class diagrams. And what did I say the players are going to have in common? Well, let's go up here. Player, name and coin option. Okay. So got that. And I want my fields to be private if at all possible. So I'm going to say name with a negative there means it's private. String. And what was the other thing I said? Coin option. And I'm also going to make that private. So coin option. And it's also going to be a string. And then what methods am I going to need? Well, I'm going to get the methods that I need from my sequence diagram. So what methods do we have here? Get coin option is going to be one of them. Set coin option is going to be another one in the situation where I need to set the value for the coin. Get random coin option is going to be one of them as well, which means that the heads or tails is going to be chosen at random. And what else? I'm just looking down here at the players and what methods are tied to them. Get coin option. Did player win? That's it. So I need did player win. Let's just select it and set coin option. I'm going to copy that, jump back over to the class diagram, paste that inside of here, and get random coin is going to be the other one. So it's going to be what goes from coin game over to the players. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm creating everything based off of what I had in my sequence diagram. So now I basically just have to transpose everything up here. So get random coin option is going to be one of them. I'm also going to have get coin option because I don't know that I need that, but like I said, I'm working this out and I'm thinking there might be a situation that I'm not thinking about in which I'm going to actually need to return whatever their option was. I might be wrong right now, but I'm going to put it in here for now because it can't hurt. And basically it's not going to receive any attributes and it's going to return a string. What else do I need? Set coin option. Well, that's just right there. And I'm also going to have this be positive, or public, I mean. Set coin option. And what's it going to get passed? It's going to get whatever the opponent flipped. I think that makes most sense. Opponent flip, and that's going to be a string. So it's either going to receive heads or tails, whatever the opponent flipped, and then it's going to choose the opposite. Later on, I'm going to figure out the logic behind exactly how I'm going to do that. And what else do I need? Well, get random, get rand, coin option, and it's going to return a string. And then the last thing is did player win, and it's going to be passed winning flip, which is going to be a string, either heads or tails. And I said before that I decided it's not going to do anything except just print that information out. So there you are. There's my class diagram. Pretty cool stuff. And you can see, I hope you can see, everything's being pulled from the sequence diagram. So let's get rid of that. And I know nobody's done a tutorial like this ever, and I'm guessing nobody's watching me right now. If you are, by chance, do me a favor and say, yeah, I actually watched the whole tutorial, because nobody does niche tutorials like this as far as I know anyway. Okay, so what other objects are we going to have? We're going to have a coin. So I'm going to say coin object. And what's the coin going to do? Well, let's look. So here's my coin over here. What did it do? It's going to have a coin option set. Okay, so it creates get coin option. So it's going to have a coin option inside of here as a field. And get coin option is going to have to be something that's returned. And that's it. That's all coin does. So that makes creating that object really easy. Let's come in here, paste, and so it's going to have coin option. Actually, I can just delete the name part off of here from the players. Okay, so that's that. And then get coin option, get coin option. It's already there. And it is done. Look at that. Look how easy that was. So there you are. Now I also got my coin object also all set. So that's cool. And let's delete that. And then what's left? Coin game. That's it. We're done. So that's pretty cool. The next part of the tutorial, I'll actually write all the code. So this is going to be coin game. And what's coin game going to have? Well, that's the whole entire thing here. That's coin game right here. So coin game, like I said before, I can maybe see a little bit better up here. It's going to have a players array and it's going to have a coin. So that's going to be field. And other than that, it doesn't really do anything. It's calling all of this stuff. It's calling all the methods for all these other guys. So what do I really want it to do? I want coin game basically to do almost nothing except start the process of calling all this stuff. So that's what I'm going to have coin game do. Come back down into coin game. So remember I said there's going to be players, and this is going to be a player array, and also what else is going to be in here? The coin, and it's going to be of object type coin. So there's that, and those were both going to be public. Let's call this players. So players, okay. And then the last thing is going to be start game. Because I decided, you know what, this doesn't really need to do anything else except call a whole bunch of methods. So I'm going to have start game do that, and it's going to return void. So there you go. That was a rip-roaring, absolutely insane tutorial where I created 4 different types of UML diagrams and broke down absolutely everything. Like I said before, all of these diagrams are available in a link underneath of the video. Please leave any questions or comments below. Otherwise, till next time.